Hello, everyone. My name is Jake from Talk Too Much, and I'm standing on the side here because you know what time it is. It is time to count the April recap. There were 14 releases this month. I was only able to catch 10 of them. So here are the four that I was unfortunately missing. I missed Faces of Death, Hunting Matthew Nichols, Mile End Kicks, and as well as Desert Warrior. I missed those four movies. I really wanted to see them, but there was no way I could find the time to fit in. Either that or the theaters were just too far away. So, with all that being said, here are 10 movies that I saw this month, ranking from worst to best. I'll start letting you know when I get to the top if the movie's worth watching or if it's worth just slacking it on to the side or if it's worth buying. Just so that way you can know we're slowly getting better throughout the year with the releases. Slowly. It's taking a lot more time, but I'm sure after summer hits that we'll be hitting nothing but bangers. So, without further ado, number 10. And number 10, I gotta give it to this movie called Outcome. Now, this is a movie that is only on Apple streaming services, and it's directed by Jonah Hill, and it stars him and Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves plays an actor who in his past apparently did something that is deemed as racist and offensive in one of his early movie or TV show roles. And so they're trying to get a hold of the footage and erase it so that way he doesn't get canceled. That is the whole summary of the movie, and it's as bad as it sounds. And I was extremely disappointed because hearing that Jonah Hill would work with Keanu Reeves, I was like, man, that sounds like a great combination. You could do something amazing with that. Boy, was I proven wrong for 90 minutes straight. Every way that they could have made this bad, they just kept going. There's not one single moment. I was just like looking at this. I was like, oh my gosh, you are only making it worse. Please just tell me we're at the end of the movie. And then I find out we got 40 minutes left, and it just makes me even more sad. So anyways, number 10, we're going to start off with Outcome. Number 9, it's a little bit better. At least it's more rewatchable, I would say, is Fuse. Now, Fuse is a heist movie. It kind of combines bank robbery with bombs. And I thought the idea was pretty cool. The only thing is just the execution pretty bland and boring to me. This kind of felt like getting a steak at Longhorn or Outback. I mean, you'll get the steak because it's an option, but when it's there, you're just like, it's all right. It's there. That's what I would have to say about Fuse. Definitely stream it. Give it a shot. It's probably a good Sunday dad movie, I would say. It's just not really my kind of thing. Speaking of not my kind of thing, we got number 8. Which would be Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Wow. We have to hit one disappointment through every month. You gotta have at least one bad movie and one disappointment every month. And man, oh man, was this my disappointment. The more I sat on this movie, the more frustrated I got. Just even after walking the theater and then just thinking about this movie more and more, I'm just like, Lee Cronin should just have done another Evil Dead movie. It would have made more sense in this. I don't feel the mummy part of this movie. The more I think about it, the more I just think about Evil Dead. Which, no hate, the guy made a great Evil Dead movie. But this just felt like a part 2, and it was just kind of more so frustrating the more I kept watching it. So, and the more I kept thinking about it. So, unfortunately, I do have to have it here. And number 8, if you got enjoyment for this movie, I'm happy for you. I feel like a lot of the people that did get enjoyment of this movie did not watch a lot of the Evil Dead movies, and that's perfectly fine. If you're happy with it, you're happy with it. I'm not going to hate towards that. This is my personal list, and this is just where it sits for me at number 8. All right, number 7. Get all your pitchforks ready, because I'm fully spread out like Jesus right now and saying that number 7 for me is going to be Michael. Yes, the movie biopic about Michael Jackson. I didn't enjoy this. I think maybe it's because I was one of those people that were just like, are they going to be honest in this biopic? No, they're not going to be honest about this biopic. They're going to do it from the 60s when the Jackson 5 starts all the way to the height of Michael Jackson's career in 1988. A lot of the things that you're going to go into this, you most likely already know, unless you're around my age. and post 2000s, you may not know so much. But man, oh man, I was kind of just not shocked at how let down I was going to be about this movie. Do I think all the performances are great and the music cues and everything? They're awesome. I can fully stand by that. But the problem I have with a lot of biopics, and this goes for the Elvis Presley one specifically, but even more outside of that, is they're not truly honest and they're not going to show you the bad of the movie. The bad is being deemed as Michael Jackson being abused by his father, in which I understand. Yes, that's an important role. But the fact that you decided to stop at 1988 and then you're potentially going to tease that there's going to be a second movie. Okay, let's get into the allegation bits. Let's get the answers. Let's truly know Michael Jackson. Don't just fluff around it and say that it's nothing. But I was very, very frustrating, especially when I got to the end of this movie. I was just kind of like, I like the music notes, I like the actor, but story wise, this is nothing for me. Also, are we not going to talk about how, for legal purposes, they had to completely change the third act? And it shows. It shows. When you watch this movie and you get to the third act, you can see it night and day how they changed this, and it's a completely alternate ending to where it was supposed to be heading. And that was very, very frustrating for me. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Michael Jackson hater. I just have a lot of skepticism towards the dude, and I just wanted an honest biopic. Even if I would have hated him even more, I'd prefer the honesty, and it would have been a better movie if that was the case. Number 6. Now, this movie, it had so much potential to be higher, and then the second half of it is where it gets all screwed up. I'm here to talk about Beast. Now, Beast is basically like an Australian version of Rocky 4. That's the best way I would put it, but it brings the best things out of Rocky 4 when it comes to the fight scenes and some of the moments. They're great. They're very intense. Until you get to the second and third act, and then the story starts to fall apart, where you start to see how this movie is going to turn out, and that's what really ended up hurting it. I also felt like they didn't do enough backstory with these characters. They just briefly mention around some of the things, like the lead character. He was a UFC fighter. He was undefeated. And all you know is that he was arrested for 2 years over, I think, a drunk celebration at a bar. And they kind of just leave it at that, and that cost him his whole UFC career. And then after that, he's having to come back several years later and get back into shape and fight the one guy who has only lost against him. It sounds very confusing, but they did not do enough background story with this, which was very heavily disappointing. And then by the time we got to the final fight, I saw where it was going. It was extremely predictable. I knew immediately. I was like, okay, this is how it's going to end. And it ended that way. Not to say it's a bad movie. It's certainly not. But I was just a little let down by it. Number 5. Now, number 6 and number 5, I could probably flip them back and forth, depending on how I'm feeling. But these are where I get to all the movies that I would recommend streaming. These were all good. I had a fun time with them, at least. And number 5 is going to go to Super Mario Galaxy. This movie is like an acid trip. There's no other better way to explain it. It is a kid's movie. It's extremely colorful as it could possibly be, which, my lord, for what they did with the color, they lacked a lot for the story. You're going into a kid's movie expecting about 20 different subplots that fit into one major plot, and then you're getting the end results. But it looks like they're setting up for a third film that could be even bigger. And what I can say is, I understand how everybody is complaining about the story. I agree with it. But I do think also as well, kids do kind of deserve better than this movie. Not to say that it's bad. It's certainly not bad. Story-wise, they could have trimmed so much of this and made it a lot tighter and a lot neater along with the colors. That's what I would have expected out of this. But overall, I still had a fun time with this movie. I liked seeing all the adults and the kids, glow up as soon as a character was on screen. I briefly grew up with Mario. I at least played the DS, the original game, around like 2007, but I didn't really do much outside of that in Mario Kart. Some people got more enjoyment than I did. Some people hated it more than I did. I just thought it was okay. It's nothing to cheer on for, but it's nothing worth really complaining about. Number 4 is going to be an interesting one, and I would have to say Mother Mary. Now, this is Anne Hathaway's other film that she did this year. She's done like, I think, 5 films that are being released this year. Girl's been working. This movie is about a pop star who had a falling out with their career because of some intense incidents that you find out in the movie. She's very traumatized by her past, everything that has happened. She's trying to have a big comeback, and so she's working with this makeup artist slash this designer, trying to get her momentum back and get going back onto the music world. And if you want a movie that demonstrates flawless performances, here you go. I will say this is one of my favorite performances of the year from Anne Hathaway, as well as the co-star. I think this movie fits the creepy ghost vibes where it's very haunting. And if everything is so quiet and all you are drawn into is just the performances by these two leads, and it does so much, it gives so much story that you're just kind of blown away by the end of it. And that's all I felt at the end was like, this isn't a movie I think is perfect by no means, but I could see myself rewatching this and enjoying it more the second time around. And it blew my mind. Everything about it was phenomenal, music wise. Everything it was going for, the reasoning behind, I felt like it all worked once it was mixed together. It's very artsy, so if you are looking for an artsy Anne Hathaway movie, Mother Mary is something to definitely keep your eye out for. And hopefully, I'm probably going to try and rewatch it before the end of the year, see if it grows higher on my list. But that is definitely one I'm going to recommend out there, especially for Anne Hathaway fans. Number 3, it's going to be for the boys out here, and it's going to be called Normal. Now, those of us like me that grew up with Better Call Saul, we're big Bob Odenkirk fans. We don't hide it around here. And when I heard that he was doing a new action comedy movie with a lot of nobody mixed with Nobody 2, I'm on board for it, man. I am here for it. And let me tell you, it freaking delivered. It delivered on every single front I wanted this movie to deliver on. Oh, man, I was so excited. Just every single scene was so much fun. Watching Bob Odenkirk kick ass for literally like 90 minutes straight. You can't complain about that. It's nice to see that he can do so many different roles, and when he needs to be the action side of these movies, he comes back and he freaking delivers. And so I am excited to rewatch this soon. I'm probably going to rewatch Nobody and Nobody 2 at the meantime, just to get over my feeling of this movie. But man, I had a blast. It's a movie about how this sheriff, who's played by Bob Odenkirk, goes to this town called Normal, Minnesota, and everything is but normal. And that's all I need to leave it at. All you need to know is the Bob Odenkirk does a lot of gunfiring. He has, I think, a fucking grenade launcher at some point. It's bizarre. It's bizarre in the way that the movie goes, and I fully recommend this to people, especially big action people. This is something that you've been missing for a while now. My number 2 here is another controversial movie, as well as one that started great conversation. I got a lot of enjoyment out of this movie, and that is The Drama. Now, my wife and I were so excited to see this movie. She was on just her feet jumping for this movie at the beginning because Robert Pattinson's in this, and Zendaya has been doing a lot in her career lately. So those two names combined, and the way that this was marketed, we thought it was going to be a romance movie. And I'm like, you know what? Those two lead actors and actresses, I could probably go for that. Oh boy, this is anything but a romance movie. For a lot of it, yeah, the controversy, I'm not going to spoil it, but that is one way to create a conversation is, how well do you know your partner? What's the worst thing you've ever done? A week leading up to your wedding, and then, your bride-to-be is completely drunk and actually says the worst thing that she's ever done. And by the end, everyone's scratching their head like, is this person mentally okay to be around? And the way that it went about it with how Robert Pattinson takes the news of what Zendaya has done, it's a phenomenal performance. I thought it was right in every single way. And when we got towards the very end, I'm just kind of like, I'm on the edge of my seat almost, like, how is this going to play out? Like, I'm a little scared. But by the time it gets to the third act, I thought it worked perfectly. I thought the way everything wrapped around and the way it ended was how I wanted it to end, at least. I know some people think otherwise. I know others think that this is too dark of a movie. The rewatch value is a lot lower because of that. And I completely get that. For me, though, I want to relive this experience and be on the edge of my seat again. Even though I already know what happens, I got so much enjoyment out of this. So you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And knowing what Zendaya's secret is, I think that's what's ultimately going to make or break this movie for some people. For me, it was about how they executed it at the very end once they do find out what her secret is. That's what was going to make or break this movie for me. And by the very end, I was just like, you know what? I almost want to go back for a round two and watch this again because it was just such a great feeling watching this movie. I'm blown away by it. I think all the characters do great. There's some that are a little bit more insufferable than others, and that's where I would dock it and why it's at number 2. But do not miss out on this movie. I highly, highly recommend this. And number 2 is going to go to the drama. And last but not certainly least, what is going to be on majority of people's top 10s, probably top 15s, what was criminally slept on, and the audacity that they were only put this in a limited amount of theaters was so cruel. Number 1 for me, and potentially my number 1 for this year, is going to go to Over Your Dead Body. Now, this movie stars Samara Weaving and Jason Segel, in which they have plans to go on a nice romantic getaway together after their relationship has been going downhill. And these two have plans to kill each other. That's the start of the movie, because it only goes crazier from there, and you think you're starting with that plot. Oh no, it changes so much. I loved all the acting from all these characters. Timothy Olyphant's in it as well, Juliette Lewis. All of them do a phenomenal job. I was laughing, and it's been a while since I've had good laughs like that in the theater. So I loved it for that. I thought the gore was necessary when it needed to be very amped up. It does the job. And this movie is just bonkers. It's bonkers from the very start all the way to the very end. The way it decides to do its storytelling too, it works so well. So even though Michael came out the same weekend, I went all the way. I went a whole hour out of my way just to go find a theater that was playing this movie because I heard so many good things about it. It lived up to the hype about it. Please do not sleep on this movie once it comes out on streaming. I've hardly seen anyone talk about this movie. I wish it got more praise than it's getting right now. So please check it out when it comes on streaming. Buy it, rent it, whatever you have to do. I would say this is my number 1 so far of the year. I'm looking forward to it. I only hope more. I think Samara Weaving has one more movie that's coming out in June. Girl's been working, and I hope Jason Segel takes more roles like this because he impressed me so freaking much with this movie. I was so happy with it. So anyways, here's my top 10 for the month. Let me know what your order is. If you disagree with mine, let me know why. I'm down to here, and thank you guys for checking out this video. Check out my other videos and let me know if there's anything else you guys would like to see. I'll see you guys in the next one.